the WWE Draft, where the landscape of sports entertainment shifts and destinies are rewritten, opening fresh opportunities for talent who might need to change the scenery to get their careers back on track, or seeing an NXT call-up get their chance on the big stage. So we'll be looking at each show, predicting what the rosters will look like when the dust settles. So let's hit that intro and look at the Raw side of things.
Yeah, it's our time to shine. Show that's the kind of state of mind you gotta combine with hard work and time. You gotta climb to the top. Don't let yourself drop till your heart stops. Let this beat rock. Got a new clock and a new stock for this new rock. Just let your mind loose from the new stock. Drunk off the goose, yeah. Thinking that I'm too pop. Getting caught with a few thoughts cause I'm too lost. Let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up.
Now, getting into the champions real quick, I don't think there's going to be any real swap in champions. Your world champion, your women's world champion, which is vacated right now at the time of this recording, and your tag champion is going to stay. But I do see a swap in champions with Logan Paul going to Raw, taking the United States title there. So I do see that. Now, I don't think this is in any particular order how they're going to be drafted, but I do see the megastar, LA Knight, going to Raw. This would be a great opportunity to have him have feuds with the World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest and staying away from Cody, because I don't think he had any chance of doing that, and they really do want to elevate him. I think him going to Raw with the World Heavyweight Championship would be the best option. Next up, I'm going to kind of do this as a duo because I see Becky Lynch and Seth freaking Rollins staying on Raw. It's been known they like to keep major couples together all on the road, so no big surprise here. I think they both stay on Raw. They've both been great fits for Raw over the year, so no big thing there. Drew McIntyre also seen staying on Raw because he's got feuds still he's got to do there on Raw. If he sticks around, Raw's the spot for him. Speaking of feuds Drew McIntyre is going to have, one's going to be definitely back with CM Punk when Punk comes back from injury. So there's no point in moving him to SmackDown if Drew's going to be on Raw. Some of these women are going to be very hard to predict with the Battle Royal for the Women's World title coming up on Raw. But either way, I see Liv Morgan staying on Raw, whether she wins that Battle Royal or not. I think she stays on Raw. That's where the spot for her is. And the reason I see Liv staying on Raw is because eventually Rhea will be back, and I see all of the Judgment Day staying on Raw. They've been a staple of Raw. I don't think you move them over there, and Liv needs to finish that feud with Rhea, so the Judgment Day also stays on Raw. And we come to our first NXT call-up, or recall-up if you may. I see Baron Corbin getting called up back to Raw. He's done great work in NXT. He's ready to prove himself again on the main roster. I see him coming back up the Raw. And now we get our first breakup because I see Chad Gable getting drafted separately from the Alpha Academy. He recently turned heel, attacking Sami Zayn after their Intercontinental title match. There's rumors that he will be forming a new group with the Creed brothers. So both of them and Chad Gable stay on Raw. So where does that leave Ivy Nile? I see her also staying on Raw, maybe having a thing where she's trying to convince them not to join Chad Gable there for a while, but also hanging around to keep her tag team with Maxine Dupree together. So them also both staying on Raw. This brings us to the recently returned Andrade. Stays on Raw. I think he has a great chance at mid-card, even maybe teased with the main event there on Raw. So Raw, the best place for him, probably shouldn't be moved. Now we get a brand switch because moving from SmackDown to Raw, I see the Final Testament getting moved. Longer hours of Raw gives them more opportunity to shine. I think Raw would be the best spot for them. Also swapping brands, I see Legado del Fantasma getting moved over. Again, kind of the same with the Testament. They stay on SmackDown. All they really have to do is feud with LWO. I think that's ran its course. New look on Raw. Probably will do well for it. Another NXT call-up. I see Blair Davenport going to Raw. She's pretty much done what she can do on NXT. They pretty much have her in the thing where she's losing right now to put over younger talent. I think it's time to call her up, put her on Raw. Big Bronson Reed stays on Raw. He's got good momentum going over there. I think moving him over to SmackDown gives the possibility of stalling him. Being on Raw gives him his best chance. On the opposite end of that spectrum, Cameron Grimes, I think, moves over to Raw. He's been floundering on SmackDown, really not used much. I think the extra hour will give him more opportunity to shine. He goes to Raw. I see Pretty Deadly going to Raw. District Pirac, I think a tag team title feud with them and the Awesome Truth would be hilarious and great entertainment. That alone gets them moved to Raw. The women's tag division is pretty interchangeable. They always can end up on either show if they're the champ. So moving Isla and Alba over to Raw helps them, again, more time, more opportunity. Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, keep them on Raw. That way, when they're not in the title picture, all the women's tag teams can be there on Raw to have outer championship feuds. Next up, we got another NXT call-up. I see Gallus going to Raw. This, I'm going to elaborate a little more. I've been seeing subtle hints that they might be bringing a trios title into the WWE. You see a lot of new trios getting done up. Final Testament, The Pride, Gallus. If the Chad Gable and the Creeds are there. So I see that. They'll probably be interchangeable like the women's tag team titles. So with that, I think Gallus goes to Raw. This is one I'm not too comfortable about, but I'm just going to say the New Day stays on Raw. They're a tag team that can end up on either show and be in the same spot. So let's just not rock the boat. They stay on Raw. Next up, we got the Boat Natalya. I think she stays on Raw. She's pretty interchangeable with NXT. She shows up there a lot to help. So her being on Raw, she doesn't need to be moved. She's there now. Just keep her there. We got our next sort of breakup as I see Piper Niven being drafted separately to Raw from Chelsea Green. Don't think they have much left to do as a tag team. And I think she'd be a great foil for the baby faces out there. And I think we got our biggest switch for the Raw roster as I think they're going to come up with Randy Orton. I think SmackDown's been a really top heavy. I think him coming over the Raw will help keep the top end of Raw very leveled out. So I see Randy Orton on Raw. This is another one I think he could easily get moved to SmackDown. But for right now, I'm going to say Shinsuke Nakamura stays on Raw. He's kind of got a place there. Don't need to rock the boat on that one. Next up, another NXT call-up. Maybe a 2-for-1, if you will. Because I got Von Wagner coming up finally with Mr. Stone. Again, more time on Raw. A lot bigger stage to maybe show his talents. Really hasn't been used on NXT lately. I think it's time for his call-up. He goes to Raw. And last up, I got Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark staying on Raw. They've made a great tag team. I also think they can be great singles competitor in that vision. So keeping them together on Raw makes a lot of sense. That's where I see it. And there it is. That's what I think the Raw roster will probably look like after the draft is said and done. Remember, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button. Leave a comment down below. Tell me if you agree. Tell me if you disagree. Let me know what you think is going to happen to the Raw roster after the draft. And as always, we will see you again. Come back and see us.
Watch out, 'cause I'm here now and I'm staying.